right. What is up? Happy Monday. Welcome to Rap Notes.
Happy Monday.
Hey, Vanessa. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Ooh, hope you had a good weekend. We had a good weekend.
It's a busy one.
Yep. Rocking my new Crooked Stave gear. Shout out to Crooked Stave. Had a lovely time with them.
The Exchange.
Yes. Located the Exchange in Old Town, Fort Collins. That was my first time at Crooked Stave. Not my first time having their beer, but cool place.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. You could have it indoors. You could have it out in the courtyard. Kind of cool options that they've got there.
We'll be back.
That was awesome. My dad ended up in urgent care this weekend. Not awesome. Has a brutal cough right now. Negative COVID test. Not COVID. But it does look like it's pneumonia. Brutal. I just saw him. He's in rough shape. Sounds real bad. But he's hanging in there. But I guess I'm glad it's not COVID, but pneumonia. Not much better. Brutes. So that was a little scary. Coming off the fights this weekend, Corey Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw, you very, very appropriately called me out, and I was mispronouncing somehow Sandhagen, and I was saying Sandahagen. I was saying it almost with like an Irish lilt.
Sounded really nice.
So,
I was used to Sandahagen.
My apologies, Corey, for adding letters to your last name. Corey Sandhagen. There, I got it.
We will be saying his name again. Did
not pull out the win. TJ Dillashaw got the split decision, majority decision. And I'm going to be breaking down that fight later today with good friend Maya Ortega. She's coming on. Hot mic, so be on the lookout for that episode. Hopefully we'll have that up tomorrow. And so we'll go into depth on breaking down that whole fight card, but just giving thoughts right now on TJ's win. I do think he did enough to get that win. I think that was legitimate. I can absolutely understand Corey's disappointment with that decision. He certainly did a lot more damage. I mean, you just look at their faces and you can see the damage done to TJ. But it even sounded like that's a trouble spot that opens up for him. So there's the damage, but then there's also the fact that Corey rocked TJ a couple of times. But TJ did the better job of controlling the octagon and controlling the fight. So that's the game they play, and that's the game that TJ won on Saturday night. But TJ's back.
Yay!
Yeah.
TJ's back.
I thought he looked great. Didn't you?
I did. I thought he looked amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also thought Corey looked great, but Corey wasn't making the adjustments necessary to pull out that win. And I think TJ was tweaking his game plan and really went for the grind and turned it into a wrestling grappling match. And anytime they got a break and Corey could keep his distance, he was lighting him up, but TJ was being very elusive and was shooting for that double leg, getting him up against the cage, taking his back and just grinding him up against the cage. It was the right thing to do.
He wanted it more.
And he needed it.
He needed it.
I feel real bad for Corey. That is a tough beat, and I know he felt like he had done enough, but boy, that was so close of a fight that that's kind of how I had it too. I don't know if we called it in the moment, split decision TJ.
I think you did.
Yeah.
I think you called it for split, and you were pretty sure it would go to TJ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I called that for Macy Barber too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not patting myself on the back for calling it in the moment. But
you understand how the judges were scoring.
Mm-hmm.
They were very consistent with how they scored those fights.
Yeah. Well, we'll get more in depth about the fights and go into the full fight card. I was taking family to the airport, so I didn't get to see the whole fight card live. I kind of caught up on it yesterday on UFC Fight Pass, but thankfully you paused. I was en route to the airport when the main card started. You were able to pause it for me, and then I got to come back and basically watch it as if it were live. And that was really fun.
I was so worried that wouldn't work. Thank God.
Oh,
my
man.
gosh.
Oh yeah, and then it was like freezing and glitching, and it was like, oh, are we gonna miss fights? Boy, but that first fight on the main card was fantastic. Costa versus, I'm forgetting his last name. I don't
Costa
have my
looked
notes up.
so good in the first round.
Wow.
That was so hard to see him lose.
Mm-hmm. There was some really great kind of communication and sportsmanship after that was really great. And I had to pull up a clip of it because you couldn't really see it during the broadcast. But before they do the official hand raising, the two of them are talking and kind of like talking notes on the fight and just showing respect for each other's games. And he was like, man, I didn't think you were going to come out boxing like you were. That was incredible. You were lighting me up. And then he was like, and you turned it around and I didn't see that takedown. It was that was a really good show of sportsmanship from both of them.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But since you're breaking down the fights with Maya later, should we share what we're watching right now?
Yes, I wanted to talk about that. That we're watching what is the official title? It's the Aaron Hernandez story on Netflix. Short docuseries. And this is my second viewing, but I watched it at the beginning of the pandemic when it was just that massive consumption of content, and I didn't retain this story as well. But wow, what a double life this guy led. It's insane. And I mean it's wild how his evolution, how much he changed as an individual. He seemed like such a sweet kid and then a nice young man, and then completely corrupted by a lifestyle that apparently was very appealing to him, and living like a criminal and just popping off on people quite literally. How about the fact that his childhood best friend is just like, oh, don't worry, I'm just going to go ahead and out you. I'm going to, now that you are disgraced and dead, I'm just going to go ahead and bring you out of the closet.
I think it adds a layer of complexity to the story that is fascinating and
certainly
also
does.
Tragic.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of puts a new perspective on the whole situation. But oh man, he just ended up with the wrong people.
Yeah, he had the wrong people around him.
Yeah, when they were talking about how when he went to Boston to play for the Patriots and he was too close to his childhood home and those influences, I was totally thinking about Sundance and how I was working there and was leaning on my high school friends and wasn't necessarily focused on my actual coworkers, because it's where I was from. So
that's a
it's
good
easy
point
to lean on that.
Yeah, I remember his friend was saying, like, when he was being drafted and they were like, please go to Washington, go to Florida, be anywhere other than here. Yeah. He was far too close to home. You're right.
Too young, just too young to avoid that kind of influence.
Mm-hmm.
I think his mom might be one of the worst moms ever. Gotta say, I haven't finished it yet, but I see very little chance of redemption for her.
Right after his father's death, she started dating Aaron's cousin's husband.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is scandalous.
And he was sitting right next to her at the trial. Oh.
I think one of the most fascinating elements to the documentary is all of the phone calls that they have from him
and Tanya,
in
him
prison.
and his mom, him and his fiance. I agree.
It's fascinating. Like we're getting a glimpse of who this guy is and what he's like and his thought process and the damage and the trauma from his childhood. Yeah, that's a perfect example of like how his mother really messed him up.
Like his dad messed him up too, but also, his mom was not innocent.
I think because I don't remember a lot of the real details of this story, and I think my initial takeaway was just like, oh, it's CTE. This guy played football all his life, had all this traumatic brain injury, and he started becoming this really scary, impulsive guy. But there's all these other elements that I had forgotten about that kind of led to who he became. It's still, I can't make sense of it.
Yeah, that's why it makes a great doc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are right around the beginning of the 3rd episode, but we were both dozing off and decided to call it.
Yeah, it's because murder puts me to sleep.
Uh-huh. Hey, no better nap than throw on a Forensic Files and just kind of let yourself drift off into murder and crime scenes. That is strange. All right. So later on today, Maya will be on the podcast. We're going to break down the fights in detail and talk about what she's been up to. So this has been the Monday morning wrap notes on the weekend. Thank you very much. This has been Hot Mike. I'm out.
Bye.